So every night here in the monastery at 9, we do a monastic reading. And as you know, we've been reading this book, Swami Brahmananda, as we saw him. And he was considered to be the spiritual son of Sri Ramakrishna, you know. And Sri Ramakrishna, of course, was so pure. People believe him to be an incarnation of the divine, or a very pure manifestation of God herself or himself. And so I wanted to share this passage here about a first impression of a young brahmachari that met him way back in the day. It's in the 1920s that this story is from. He says, I was to enjoy that affection from Swami Brahmananda in great measure in the weeks that followed. For each morning when I went into his room to bow before him, I was the recipient of such love as I had previously received only from my mother. He often spoke to me as if I was his very own child. Sometimes he would give me little tasks to do for him. In a very appealing manner, he might say, would you please close the window? I would be very much touched. Why should such a being be so nice to me? I would reply with my heart melting toward him, Oh Maharaj, why do you feel like you must say please to me? He expressed appreciation of the smallest act of service I might do for him, as though it was involuntary. Love just poured out of him, and if you came near him, you couldn't help but be showered with that love. Each associate of Maharaj felt as if he loved him the most. Each felt that he was on particularly intimate terms with Maharaj. Animals equally responded to Maharaj's love. At the ashram, there was a beautiful dog named Jockey. Maharaj loved Jockey, and at the end of his meal would give him morsels of food, calling, Jockey, hey Jockey, come here Jockey. Maharaj would feed the dog. It was difficult these times to tell which of them was the happier. Maharaj's affection for Jockey and Jockey's regard for Maharaj was an absolute sight to see. You know, Ramakrishna, Vivekananda said that the only two measures of spiritual life are to ask yourself, am I unselfish and am I loving? That those are the marks of a true spiritual person. It's not how much scripture they know or how much they've memorized or how disciplined their life is. It's a matter of love. Do people feel loved when they're around you? Do you let people know your affection for them? Is it a natural part of you? That's a measure of our spirituality. That's a measure of how close to the divine we've become. That and that alone. That asking, am I unselfish? You know, that's the negative aspect. It's like, am I not being selfish? The positive aspect is, am I loving? And that's your proactive search for service, your constant quest to be of help in this world. So that's true spiritual life from one of the great seekers, one of the great disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, Swami Brahmananda, a man of great love.